So, I am going to do a quick demo with all of these devices, so I ask that you pay attention to all of them, just because you don't know which device you're going to be assigned to. So with that said, hold on to your questions. You're going to have questions about your device, so just so that we can keep things moving along, I do answer most of the common questions at our first stop when you have the device in your hands. So the first thing we're going to be using is thermal imaging. Why would I want thermal imaging in a ghost hunt?
Heat.
Not heat. Cold. We want cold spots. It's the old adage. So this is a FLIR Pro 1. What does that mean to you? This is what firemen use to help save people. This is the real deal. So what we're looking for on here, well, you guys first off should be able to see me in there, right? I'm the orange, red, and yellow guy. Sorry, gentlemen, but that means I'm the hottest thing inside the video. So, but the blue, we're looking for blue and black spots to move around or take shape. So I also have this set up to where there's a blue dot bouncing around the screen to kind of help us pinpoint where the coldest spot is in the frame at that moment. So even if we do capture something, I can freeze frame it, take still shots of it, and we can actually see the temperature differences between an ambient temperature and the coldest spot in the frame if something is an anomaly. So we will be recording with this all night long, but I will give starts and stops with this guy just because, as great as the hardware is, the software sucks. So if we record for too long, we lose footage, not to mention we don't want, Cameron to be taking video of somebody's butts as we're walking from the next location. So again, because Cameron, we're going to keep you super excited with this guy, and you're going to be my filmmaker of the night.
Woo!
So you are going to keep this horizontal all night long. So think of the horizon this way. You're going to keep the camera on your left. The red square kind of helps, like that's your start and stop button. So when I say let's go ahead and stop your video, just hit the red square. It'll turn to a circle. When you restart it and I say, Cameron, let's get some footage here, I want you to be in this position before you hit the circle. So that way when I splice it together, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
He is the tech guru, the kid of the group, so of course.
Just put your hand over the camera. Yeah, the camera's on the left-hand side.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect, buddy.
So just treat it like a cell phone. Do you have a cell phone?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so just treat it like a normal cell phone. I know it's a little heavier because there's a battery pack on it, but...
Hold it like this, dude.
Yep, that's usually how people do it. There you go. Perfect. So... I will tell you, one of the reasons why I gave it to Cameron is because I have one of the best pieces of footage that I ever caught with that camera. It was just a few weeks ago, and it came from an 8-year-old girl.
Wow.
So Cameron, I don't know how old you are, but
11.
I can see that you're not an 8-year-old girl. But I was like, let's see how this is going to go tonight. So we'll see. All right, we are going to be using several different types of spirit boxes tonight. They all do something a little bit different. I only have 2 of them that are actually identical. So this one in particular is going to Do you guys watch the paranormal TV shows?
Yeah.
Yes.
I brought all my equipment, so I guess we don't need it.
Phasmophobia.
I'll probably,
I brought a spirit box, an EMF, and a digital recorder.
Oh, I'm going to go way beyond that for you.
Okay.
So spirit boxes,
Noob.
as you guys already know, no, she's not a noob. She brought stuff. I've been kudos. But with that said, this is going to sweep through the FM radio stations. If you watch the TV shows, this is the white noise that they give you. And then the host will tell you whatever BS he thinks he heard in the middle of it. It's usually some garbled message, whatever. So you guys aren't used to listening to white noise for 2 hours at a time. So, and not to mention with all the history I'm going to give you tonight, somebody's going to fall asleep on one of these guys. So another method you can use with these is you can slow down the sweep. So basically, the radio chatter will come through. What does that mean for us? Song lyrics, DJs, commercials, it's a 50-50 shot that if you hear and make out something, then it's a possibility I could tie it to the location, a person in history I'm talking about. What's going on, guys?
Is it a tour, the ghost tour?
I already have all my folks. You're probably looking for Bulldog down the street. Yep. So
Well, that was an odd coincidence.
no,
Yeah, they're all here.
It happens all the
They're all in
But the
town.
funny thing is the other tour guides probably don't even know that they're not there. So,
Probably, yes.
Yeah, because that's just the way it goes down here. But anyway,
Yep.
so this one is going to be the radios, the song lyrics and the DJs and the commercials. Again, 50-50 shot. So I am going to spot check this one because it is going to record the entire session for us, no outside noise. So again, when I spot check this, I'm going to be writing down whatever the person hears in real time because they're going to have an earbud in. So I have a little notebook I keep with me so you guys have everything we heard in real time plus whatever I catch when I'm going through the recording. You will get the full recording back. So just so you know, so that way the markers will kind of help you along with whatever is actually there, even if it's not relevant. If I find an odd phrase, I don't know that it's not relevant to somebody ghost-wise that you brought with you. So I still put it in there. So again, keep that in mind. Devin? She's like, oh man, what did I sign up for?
An earbud.
Yep. I do not want earbuds back. Earwax is gross. That's your own souvenir. You brought it with you. You could take it home. So let me plug these in for you and show you where the volume button is. Now you're the only one that's going to record with this style. So again, even if you don't hear anything all night long, it's perfectly fine. We're all going to hear it tomorrow morning. So you'll have to undo the twist tie from there, but the volume button is right here. You can mess with that all night and it will not mess with the recording.
Okay.
Usually most people just wear one earbud, just so you kind of have that mentality of what that one does. So let's get the other one set up. Leanne, how do you feel about this guy?
All I have to do is hold it, right?
And listen, listen. Now yours is not going to record, so I'm going to rely on you and whatever you hear to be writing it down.
I have to write down?
No, I will be writing it down.
Okay, I was like, I can't hardly see, it's dark.
Writing in the dark is a new skill that goes on my resume. So, let's see. Where are we? Get this guy plugged in.
You're a filmmaker now, bro. You can put that on your resume.
I know, right? Until we see how shaky he is tomorrow morning.
He's doing a good job.
All right, so yours is...
Oh, is he recording now, or is he just
yeah.
right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, I started the recording so everybody knows how to watch the video.
That way
Okay.
you can say, I told you so, look at the video.
So let me just get this one started. Sorry, I didn't want to swoop.
And so when I'm listening for anything that sounds like maybe muffled voices or...
I'll be honest, like what you guys hear on TV, those muffled voices, that's a rarity. I only
Okay.
capture about 4 to 6 of those a year,
Okay.
like to be honest. So that's why we use the radio stations. I'm waiting for the DJs and song lyrics to convey messages back. So even if you hear something like, buy it now, like that's the kind of thing that I want you listening for.
Okay.
So there you go, undo the twist tie, and then your volume button is the wheel at the
Okay.
very top. All right, the next spirit box. I like to get at least one good one going in every location. So this one works kind of like an obulus. You guys all watch the TV show, so I can kind of at least say what those words are. So an obulus basically gives us words from time to time in the middle of the screen. So an obulus only has 2,000 terms and phrases in it. This one has over 9,000 terms and phrases in it. Now, this is a phone app. It's meant to be a game and a hoax. So 80% of what we actually capture out of this guy, because it will save it to a list with timestamps. Now, last night they had 107 terms show up. Most of that was garbage. And I'm just going to put it out there. It's the 5 to 20% that's actually going to be so specific to our location that I'll be able to tie it with something else going on with the spirit boxes, something on the thermal, so forth and so on.
Timestamps.
So, yeah, it kind of helps me find the other things. So I'm actually going to go with this one on you, because you seem a little hesitant on some of these devices.
Okay.
Like it's getting a little high-tech. And it's kind of interesting when there's 2 spirit boxes in the same team, so that way you guys can kind of see if they actually work together.
All right.
I don't want to see every word that pops up, because
Okay.
otherwise we'll be out here till 4 in the morning.
Okay.
I will come to you when I want to see the list. It's the little white box that looks like a scroll.
Okay.
Can you deal with this?
I'm dying in face right now.
All right. So this crazy guy. This camera works a lot differently than what camera it's using. I'm sorry, I'm getting names mixed up. Remind me again.
And Beverly.
Yeah, all right, so the 2 of you are going to work together.
Okay.
Okay, so this particular camera, first off, let me do the demo. You should not be able to see me in that little tiny square. I know it's a little tiny GoPro, but it should be pretty dark in there. Let's turn on some lights. So now I should be in a purple or pinkish hue. So we're working with infrared lighting, full spectrum lighting. So with this particular camera, it's emitting light from long range and short range, and hopefully we're going to be able to capture something that we wouldn't normally be able to see with our own eyes, because we're working with light that we cannot see with our own eyes. So this gets really fun with the next piece. So this one's going to go to you.
Okay.
You got all excited there. Hang on, I got some.
Oh, dude, this is her jam.
So this is the neuralizer from Men in Black. Nobody's going to remember a damn thing when it's ever done. Lasers.
Nice.
Lasers come up really nice in your camera. So the cool thing about lasers, and we're working with a new tip because the last time I used these, the person broke off my normal tip, so we got stars tonight, which is pretty cool. So lasers, you can see the pen, you can see the stars on the ground, but you can't see the lasers till something passes through it. Now, these lasers show up really nice inside that camera. So in the event something actually passes through it, hopefully we can capture the still, and then we can have some kind of anomaly. Now, we're going to be using 2 different styles of lasers. The red squares, in the event something we capture right here, these are squares, which means I can put them in 3D software, give you a full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements of the
It
anomaly.
says size too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's beautiful. So, have I caught anything in the year that I've had this box that will actually go into the software? I have not. However, I do have anomalies where it's like, holy shit, what just happened?
Right.
So, but the software wouldn't recognize it. So, what you're going to be doing with these lasers is you're going to be, you can use them in tandem, just side by side. You don't want to cross the streams. Any Ghostbuster fans here? So, you guys didn't catch that Ghostbuster?
Yes.
Usually that gets a chuckle. But anyway, you want to use them in tandem so that way when something passes through, you just basically created a big, long, grid of lasers.
Right.
Now, lasers always stay on the ground, and there is a laser law in Charleston, so do not get me arrested, because if you point these anywhere like further out, it can make car alarms go off, no pressure. And I normally do not give these to anybody that is underage. So have fun. Figure out how they work on the ground. The pen has a dot down here that you have to hold on, but the red box actually has a toggle switch. Bless you, bless you, bless you. So once the toggle switch is on, be careful of where you point it, because it will stay on until you shut it off.
Okay.
All right, where were we?
Well, I guess they didn't get their group.
No, the group left without it, I bet you.
Trying to think of what I want to go with next. Sean,
Yeah.
you're getting my brand new device. I
Okay.
didn't forget about you, Mark.
Oh, you're good.
I got you, buddy. So,
Save the best for last.
well, this one is, I've only had it less than a month, so again, still experimenting with all of the capabilities of it. So it's just a matter of what can it actually do. Now this is another spirit box, but it is an auto noise canceling spirit box. So all the static that everybody's hearing in their earbuds is hopefully going to be taken out. You can hear it's giving us little blurps right now. Hopefully a word or two will pop through. Now so far what this spirit box has given me has been about 75% accurate to the location. What does that mean? It gives me terms that are very relevant to the location or a person in history I've been talking about, instead of trying to weed through the 50% that everybody else is listening to. So it's already set up to run through AM and FM simultaneously. So you can see the blinking lights, AM and FM. So again, I'm going to put it on mute for now. The only thing that you need to worry about is where that mute button is. Don't touch anything on the front. It's already preset with the sweep and the rate. So there's only one button on the side here.
Okay.
And obviously it's on mute right now. So again, when I say let's go ahead and get those spirit boxes turned up, that's when you're going to turn it up and hopefully be able to capture something out of it.
All right.
EMF detectors. So we're going to be using two different styles of EMF tonight. So you guys have seen these on television, right? This is my first point of debunk. So this kind of helps me figure out electrical wires, cell phone signals, that kind of thing. So again, I have these colors memorized. So Vicky, when these go off, did I get that right, Vicky?
Yep.
Look at me go. I'm on it. Just screwed you two up. I don't know how. So whenever these go off, I'll be watching it pretty much all night because they're pretty bright. But it's kind of the first order of debunking things, so that way we can see what's going on. So, of course, let me know when it goes off. Now, Mark, you're my multitasker. Uh-oh. He's like, I'm not.
We got it.
So this particular device is called a millimeter. So as soon as I get it fired up here. So millimeters, it also has an EMF detector in it. So your big numbers on the red screen, anything above 2.5 is Vicky's second green dot. So I want to know what's going on anything above 2.5 on that meter, and they are measuring in the same unit of measure, basically, so that way I can keep track.
And of course, that has to do with movement too, right? When you did those
no,
things?
not yet. I
It's
have one of those. Hang on, we're
Okay.
getting there. So the bottom number is ambient temperature. If Cameron finds something on his camera, you and I can debunk it pretty quickly with the yellow probe at the top. So if we could see if that cold spot is coming from something man-made or if it's an actual anomaly. The last thing it has is that motion sensor. So it's called a REM pod. So if something gets close to this antenna, it will go off. The closer it gets, the higher pitch we're going to get, and obviously there's an array of colors in there. We're going to talk more about that at the first location, but for now I just want you to focus on that red screen. All right. Everybody's got some gear?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah,
let me know
I
what
didn't know to
happens.
bring any.
You guys just made my bag a whole lot lighter, so thank you for that. All that's left is all the spare batteries. All right, so, Leanne,
Yes.
your camera will die sometime throughout the night.
Okay.
Yours is the only device
It's a battery hog.
Well, yeah, you're not even recording yet.
Right.
So again, I do that on purpose because it just kills batteries. I do carry 5 because there are nights I've had to go through 3 or 4.
Okay.
Just because it drains so quickly, or we have something going on where it's draining batteries.
Right.
So that is the only device out here. Everything else has fully recharged batteries or has been charged in some way before I left the house. So that's the only anomaly that we will not have. So,
Put your finger over it. There you go.
again, any concerns at this point before we actually get started? Okay, sometimes there are concerns because you will be dealing with paranormal activity. So again, I don't know how it's going to affect you. So let's get started, right, Mark? Yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about why we started here. We're at Big John's Tavern behind me. So I put that in your text on purpose so that way you know exactly where to go. Now, this place used to be owned by Big John Kennedy. He was a football player for the 1947 New York Giants. Whenever I'm giving you stories or a history of a location, I will slow down on specific keywords that I often hear through spirit boxes. And this location, it's 47 New York and Giants. And New York will probably come up on the radio stations today if you keep up with the news, so I will not be surprised if we hear the term New York. So it's anytime throughout the night, just so you guys know. I don't know if you guys knew or not, but there was kind of a shooting in New York today. Did you guys all hear that?
Heard about
Yes.
that.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yes.
bad. So anyway, he used to tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. So he has the bartender roll them out. They leave pretty angry and they come back the next night and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on, puts down his beer, and gets up and starts beating the hell out of these guys, just pounding them right into the floor. A couple of gunshots go off, and John gets hit in the neck. The bullet grazes him and goes into the wall behind him. Now, John gets up after being shot. He's the only one that's been shot, by the way. He goes back to the bartender and tells him, get me another beer, get those 2 guys an ambulance. So, what's the moral of the story? Don't mess with Big John, okay? But the second moral is, nobody died in that story. So what's haunting the place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. Even after this renovation of the Big Johns we now know, if they filled it in, Big John's blood is still in this building. People that sit here in the front of the building where that bullet hole was or is, tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, headache. Again, this is kind of a heated warning. You're going to be dealing with paranormal activity. So if anybody feels any of those symptoms, I need to know immediately. It is a very big deal. So again, that way we can move the whole group and get that person to safety. Is that fair? Mm-hmm. All right. So now that you all look at me like, what the hell did I sign up for? Let's talk about the big earthquake of 1886. This is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. So I say allegedly on purpose. You'll realize why in a minute. The mantle you see behind me, the white mantle, also wraps around the front of Big John's, and a piece of that broke off, struck somebody in the back of the head, and it killed him, and they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street. And a lot of that came from the previous bar owner of a place called Cane Rum Bar, so I talked to him quite a bit when he was there. But I say apparently and allegedly a lot with that story because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue so people aren't thinking about getting sick on the tour. So, and yes, that was good for a chuckle. So, are you all ready to go ghost hunting?
Absolutely.
I guess it's up to camera. Are you ready to go ghost hunting?
Oh, heck
He's like,
yeah.
I'm tired of hearing you talk, dude. Let's go. Go.
Camera, keep it horizontal, dude.
I am.
You're the cameraman, bro.
I heard the word spirits.
Good. As in, like, drinking spirits at a bar.
I just heard spirits. I don't know which spirits it was.
Alright, so let's stop here for a second. I want you guys to think of your time with me as kind of a ghost hunting 101. And you're already getting ready, which is good. So spirits and 15 milligrams, got it. Alright, so I guess first and foremost we are at the Big Red Barn where horses are, so lasers definitely stay on the ground here. They cannot go in the building, you will spook the ponies. So there's another reason why we use earbuds with the spirit boxes now, because they don't like the white noise. They will kick the wall and scare the hell out of all of us. Okay. So let's talk about why we're here. So this is the Big Red Barn. Obviously we keep horses here for carriage rides. The only history here is it's a one-liner, and I do that on purpose because it just gives me an excuse to talk to you guys individually to show you more about your devices so we can actually go deep dive into Charleston history rather than football players and ponies. So this is the same Red Barn that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. That's it, 1860s to 1920s. So let's talk about those spirit boxes, because I think 5 out of my 6 that I have are in play tonight. So spirit boxes, this is not television or YouTube. This is not, is somebody here? Because everybody wants to ask that damn question. First off, if somebody answers no, that means somebody's here.
Right.
Okay, so we're not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. Certain spaces, I'll kind of give you impromptu questions. If you go rogue, just make sure they're not yes or no questions, and it's something we can actually prove. So in a space like this, I would normally say, ask a question you already know the answer to. If somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, we're going to be looking and listening for the color red. So, with that said, the color red might not be in the vocabulary of song lyrics and DJs or exactly available on the digital Spirit Box word list. So, but fire truck, blood, heart, those three things are specifically red. So I would take that as an acceptable answer. What color is the big red barn? Blood. Good. That's a direct answer. However, most of the night I'm going to require that there's at least two pieces of something going on to be able to verify what's happening. Example. So even if it's not an EMF reading like what we're already getting, which is awesome, you know, let's say Jennifer has the word art on her word list, and Sean, you hear the number 40 come through yours. Individually, those two terms don't mean anything, but in this space, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you see where I have to put all these clues together?
Yeah. 40 numbers.
Right. So with that being said, we're going to be talking about people from the 17 and 1800s. A lot of them have the same damn name, Charles's and George's and Eliza's. Like, we need to know who the heck we're talking to. So again, I'm always going to say that's a great clue, but let's wait for something else to verify it, and I'll still withhold the information so that way you all can have a genuine experience. Again, I'm not going to give you all of these answers, like what color is the big red barn. So, in the event that you wouldn't have something direct from like what color is the red barn, you could say what's inside the barn. Obviously anything related to horses, the word delivery, milk, and eggs would be acceptable in this case too. But I've also seen the words protein and calcium show up in the same night. So again, it's all about putting the clues together. This is not going to be a full-blown conversation of, hi, I'm Big John, I played for the 1947 Giants. You know, it's going to be little things like that. So just kind of, that's why we use so many devices. Your TV shows normally will show off one device at a time, am I right? Right. So again, when you have this many out here, you guys can be asking questions, and the answers can come up over here. So again, it's about like where are the answers going to. That's why I like having so many different types of spirit boxes. Notice there's, what, 4 different types out of the 5? Because only 2 of them are duplicates. So let's talk about those cameras. Cameron, you're going to try to do 2 things for me. There's a lot of people in our group. Again, this is a lot of people for me anyway. You're going to try to keep somebody in view. Why? It's because our skin is going to be the warmest thing out here. I'm sure you've seen, like, our skin probably looks white a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So when you have something of a big array of temperature like that, it helps keep everything in coloration form so that way we can actually see the blue spots moving around. The other thing you're going to try to do, and the reason I gave it to you, is because I want you to try to keep the sky out of view. You're the furthest one away from the sky. Short-wise, that was a joke, you can laugh. But again, I want you to try to keep the sky out because the blue dot will automatically default to the sky trying to measure a surface. There's no surface on the sky. So again, it's some places it's going to be impossible. Just do your best. As far as the 2 of your particular camera, go ahead and point one of your lasers down for me. Perfect. So you don't want to be pointing down at it, right. You want to be 2 to 4 feet away, shooting through it. Okay. So that way when something does pass through, you know, that kind of thing. Right. So, and again, you're at perfect range. You want to try to keep them tight so that way you can actually keep them controlled. You don't want to go too far out. Again, these things being super bright, they will set off car alarms, just so you know. The other thing on your camera is, go ahead and point it at me. You should be able to see me in a purple circle. Yeah. I'm not looking for things in the purple circle. Right. I already know I reflect light. I'm looking for things in the darkness. Okay. So that way, you have, that's why we have 2 different lights on it. So if somebody comes up and they're too close, you can actually turn up the short range, which is right underneath your finger. And your long range is still working. Okay. It's velcroed on there, it's not coming off. Okay. So you're feel free to play with that. All right. I think everybody has a great gist on how to use the device except for Mark, which I want to work with him one-on-one at the next
Wait, I have a question. When do I hit the scroll?
Actually, let's take a look at it right now. So go ahead and hit the scroll, and it'll show you all the words we've had so far. So let's read them off real quick. So we have, obviously...
Scare, costly, incorporate, it, carpet, million, Julia, intellectual, and crusher.
Yeah, all garbage. Okay. So,
just put it. Is it? Because I was going to ask you, when you get these words that are coming through, you're really basing it off the point in history and the person's intellectual level that you're trying to talk to.
It is.
That's part of the interpretation.
It is, and with, even though I say it's all garbage to my knowledge at this point. Because every once in a while something will pop up, like a date, and I have no idea what the hell that date means in that space. It happened just the other day. And the interesting thing is today is it's April 12th, so today's the first shot at Fort Sumter. So who knows what's going to actually pop up tonight? We are in Charleston, so it is what it is. So again, things will pop up. I mean, I don't know everything. I mean, there's going to be times I'm like, I have no idea what that is, but I love that phrase or I love that number. You know, we'll see what comes up with it. I'm going to write it down and look into it. So
that's the research.
Yep, it's all about the research. And everything I tell you tonight, guys, isn't because the tourism office told me to tell you what I'm allowed to tell you. It's based off the research of the tours. I've been doing this for almost 3 years now, investigating the same spaces over and over and over again. I do alter it from time to time, but because I find new stuff. Let's go deep dive into history. What do you guys think? Let's go this way.
All right, but do you want me to just holler out like I did last time?
You can.
I'm good
with that.
Okay.
When do you want me to record on the camera? What you're gonna
I'll give you the cue, which is normally with your particular camera, we start after the next story.
Okay, cool.
So
Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm supposed to
He's gonna hear anything to tell us.
All right, everybody, gather around. I know another beautiful space
Oh, I
of
heard the
Charleston.
word dire.
Dire? Like Dire Need?
Yeah.
Dire Straits? There's nothing buried underneath these roads.
Wow. It just hit red.
This is a song.
It's hitting red.
Those two are coming up pretty clear.
What was it?
Dire.
Okay. And you're already
And it's
hitting 20. All right. So that's why we take notes, so I can actually see everything that's going on. All right, so again, another beautiful space of Charleston. So with cameras, just so the two of you know, you're right next to each other, which is perfect. There's going to be certain areas where we're going to be around vehicles. People do not like their cars being filmed. So if somebody's going to their car, I'm going to say act casual. Yours is easy because you can just look like you're playing on a cell phone. But yours, Leanne, I want you to point it at the ground.
Okay.
Just to be on the safe side. We don't want to offend anybody. And wouldn't be the first or last time I've ever been yelled at by filming somebody's vehicle. So people don't know what we're doing out here. So welcome to the Pinckney Mansion site. What is this space? Eliza and Charles Pinckney's mansion was sat in the front of this lot. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant over there and came all the way across to where we're standing. And then the servant and slave quarters were in the back of this space. So who the heck were these people? Well, let me first stop there. You Spirit Box teams, I will not be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what I did over there at the Big Red Barn. You're going to get the answers from your Spirit Boxes. So Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Charleses, in case you lost track. See why I need secondary clues now? The son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a big deal to us and us locals, but the rest of you are on vacation and probably don't care about politics, and I don't like talking about politics. So let's move on.
I do.
We're going to talk about Eliza. She's way cooler anyway. Oh, I got a little surprise for you guys at the end of this. I got a new something we're going to try. I forgot until we just got here. So, yeah, that's me getting excited. So,
That's what it looks like?
yes, that's exactly what it looks like. So, Eliza got married to Charles at a young age, according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So when you're asking her how old she was when she got married, it's not going to be like 12 and 14. So the reason I bring this up is because Charles was over double her age when they married. Now, the reason why they got married is because Eliza's father was over in England and he thought he was dying, and he wanted to see all of his kids one last time. And Eliza didn't think he was dying, so she stayed put. Now, keep in mind, it's 1744. There's no such thing as marrying for a green card or citizenship. We're not even a country yet. So, she was right. Dad got better, which means he starts sending her gifts over from England to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. Now, indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes her blue jeans blue. That's how we use it today. You're wearing it right now. So, she didn't know what to do with it when she got it, because it's obviously not hot here all the time. So she had to learn from her slaves, which are from the Gullah culture, which came straight from Africa. They're agriculturists. So once she learned and experimented with it in this space, she was able to move it to their plantation in Mount Pleasant at Sneed Farm. I'm sure you guys are familiar. So once she moved it there, she calls up Dad and says, rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. We now have an international businesswoman during colonial times.
Wow.
Something absolutely unheard of. So that's the business of Eliza. That's the basic history. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you guys are all here, right? So Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back, either really smart or really stupid, depending on how you look at it. So ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. If you want to find out which Eliza we're dealing with, ask her her maiden name. You can obviously ask her how old she was when she got married or how old Charles was. The mansion's not here anymore. You can ask what happened to the mansion and then when did that tragedy happen. Yes, that's a clue that it was a tragedy. So hopefully you get those specific year of when that occurred. Let's see, Eliza's children. I told you there's at least one. His name was Charles, signer of the Constitution. There are more. You can ask how many and what their names are, but after that, leave it alone. The reason why is because there's a tragedy among those children. If we poke the bear too much, all activity will stop, including EMF readings like what we're getting right now. I've seen it dozens of times. Normally if it goes downhill, somebody's lying to me.
She's agreeing with him.
Yeah. Eliza's death is where she gets really open. You can ask her how old she was when she died, what she died from, where she's buried, and what U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Like, notice that none of these questions are yes and no questions. These are all specific answers. So what's the fun little treat that I have for you? I actually got in the mail today a packet of seeds of indigo to hopefully use as a trigger object. Anybody in particular would like to hold that, I would say a spirit box person would probably be best. So he's like, I want it, but who's got a spirit box that would like to hang on to this? Because this is going to be the first time we're ever using this little guy, and they are super.
Come on, man, let's do it.
Do it. Perfect, because you got the new device anyway. So, Eliza, we actually brought some of your crop with us tonight, so hopefully that will inspire you to give us some more clues about your life. We want to know more. So please use the boxes that I normally bring, and we are going to have some fun with you tonight. Please tell us more about your life. I am going to be working with Mark first. I want everybody else to kind of start spreading out. Mark, you can turn your spirit box on, unmute it. Leanne, go ahead and hit that top orange button until it starts flashing. Your camera also likes to lock up, so we're going to see if it locks up tonight, and then I'll give you the trick on how to fix it.
Okay.
But anything that was heard or seen before we actually spread apart here. So how's your word list coming, Jennifer?
It's coming along
Have you
well, I suppose.
Have you seen any or seen any words?
When she said dire, nightmare and suffering and scare came up.
Oh, wow. This is just like saying that ever since
I think I just heard her say 2 children.
Right
No,
So
here.
how many children do you have? Is that not right?
That's not correct, but 2 could be part of another number of a marriage age. I'll give you that clue. Have you heard anything yet on yours, Devin? Nothing?
How old were you?
All right. So
Yeah,
let's spread out. I'm going to be bouncing around with all of you,
Can we
taking
walk
notes.
around?
So I'm going to follow up with everybody, but I need to work with you first.
Walk around.
It was going to be like, and a bunch of music and a few like loud bits, but no.
So this is where her mansion is, so must be... What you getting so far?
something. I think that's great. Now, normally that
You
would
have to
give you,
keep
like,
someone
4
in
or
view,
5
but
tones a
just
night.
walk around and
So if I
record,
can break
just
those
like I'm doing, honey.
and
Just walk around and record, but keep someone in view, babe.
They seem very distinct. Nothing I'm here.
We're looking for the blue and the white.
23.8. Good luck then.
Thank you. Yeah, you might want to keep those lasers a little tighter in. So the reason why...
Tell me how old you were when your husband died? How many siblings?
What's your favorite food?
Here, like the front, every time they ask something.
Camera up on the horizon. Do you not want this device? You want me to do it? Okay, here. Then you walk around and listen, okay? I'm gonna have the little thing behind it. You're listening for words. You gotta ask her questions. Okay?
This area right here is like a favorite red for some reason.
There's a. Let's see.
See how it goes majorly red right here? Look.
Oh, let me look.
Maybe the front of the house.
There's a super cold spot right here.
Yes. Where it's
Right here.
red. Right here. All the red is right here.
Come put the camera right here.
Right there,
Stay
yeah.
right here. Every time I come to Shambles where it gets red.
Cameron, come over here.
Ooh, now it's staying red. It's staying red. It's staying
You're
red.
at max of 25 milligauss, I see.
This area, for some reason, I can tell that no matter where I walk, this area is supposed to be red.
I had to switch with
No, I was
Cameron,
just
man.
making sure
He's-
the camera was on the
yeah,
left.
yeah, I had to switch with him, man.
Okay.
When
No
did
worries.
you die?
Yeah, you guys can intermingle among your group.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Over here was attacked.
Wouldn't this have been the front of the house?
Yeah, this was the front of the
Okay, so we were asking about children and
Yeah, they were asking questions, and that's when it started. Is right
and
here.
the name Cole popped up, and then we said, tell us about Cole, and the word sometime popped up,
Okay.
and then we asked again, please tell us about Cole, and she heard the word no.
Ask about Cole.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Now we got a Kylie. I doubt there's a
Kylie. So here's the fun thing. So oftentimes...
How many children did you have?
It'll give me names of the next...
I'd like to know what
So last night...
Oh!
How many kids do you have?
How old were you when your husband died?
So last night, for example, I had a Kelly on my tour. I also had a Kelly...
I said, I'd really like to know which president was a pallbearer.
Before that. So
I think that's
in a
pretty,
row I had a
that makes
Kelly.
her a pretty special person. Pretty important.
Cameron, go interact with the other people too. Go stand by them. Don't be scared of these people.
Same
Oh,
hour. Like they
my
never
gosh.
met, but when his plane landed into
Yeah.
that city was the same hour her mother died. And the word Buffalo came up the night before. I had the name Dawn come up. I had it Dawn on my tour prior to that.
Oh, she's good.
So again, yeah. So again,
Man, this
I never
whole
know.
area right
I
here
might
is
have a
just
Kylie
like-
tomorrow. I don't look at the list until the next day, so that way I'm not getting names confused.
This
So,
whole
again,
area right here
when I
is
see that
blue.
stuff, it's often
Are you doing the
next
camera
day.
now?
Yeah, Cameron couldn't handle it.
Yeah, that's
See,
a cold
watch.
spot. That's a
I might
crazy
have-
cold
But you,
spot.
you,
It
walk,
might be
you
a
go
Kelly Cole.
around,
We don't know.
see how it
Yeah.
changes.
I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah,
for
they're
certain.
hearing.
Yeah.
What's the temperature?
That's the worst spot is right here.
Okay.
I heard
Oh, it froze up.
Martha, and I couldn't make out what the those are.
And there's a cold spot on the wall right there.
Let me stand over there so you can compare.
Warm spot to cold spot.
Gone now. There it is. It's right there next to you. Oh, it's your purse. That's your purse. Can you show yourself?
So now we're just gonna, every 2 minutes, just pay attention to your timer. So right now we only have about a minute and a half of footage. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it. Hand it back. Got it.
Hey man,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I popped your indigo loose off the cardboard.
Dude, really?
Yeah, really.
Where's the cardboard?
In my back pocket.
Okay.
I didn't throw it.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
fine. No, you're
This is
good.
a weak little
I heard
string.
the word have for some reason.
Have.
Yeah.
Okay. It might tie in with something else.
I'm noticing this is really cold over here, man.
So this particular lot with the ground, like it's hard
Yeah,
to
it's
gauge
dirt.
because the dirt, the mud, the gravel. We have a cement pad here, so you're going to see variations in temperature. So what I normally look for in this particular space is I'm looking for those blue spots to move by the walls because that's where I've caught it in the past.
Yeah, well, that one, right next to 37, was a solid little blue, and then I had Beverly walk over there, and then it disappeared.
Okay. So I'll definitely have to take a look at that.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like the number 37 was the actual blue spot. You know what I mean? And I got it on camera. I did catch it on
Good.
camera.
Good. Yeah, the slower the movements, the easier it is to watch,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you caught on too.
Were they saying anything?
He's got the word have so far. Let's see if it completes another sentence.
How many? Ask her if she had any brothers. Did she have any brothers or sisters? Ask her something specific.
No. That's the highest I've been.
So yours is a little bit more sensitive. That's why they use them on TV. Yours is way more accurate. I use this one to the phone.
Okay.
Like,
There's like a really.
yours goes to 25. I've seen his spike out to 20. Anything else coming?
Have you done something like Charleston?
I haven't done,
Worcester?
I haven't done Charles Already. I did do the Worcester site up there with the taboo wall.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you find anything out there?
I had a couple of little things, but nothing really major.
I don't think that. I mean, I know there was the settlement there, but I don't think they were.
Well, I also went out to the Francis Marion burial site.
See, I never.
Yeah, that's out in the future. Like it's a little off the beaten path.
How you doing,
It
Cam?
was something to see just to see. But I did run a spirit box and, obviously eat that.
Right.
Devin, you getting anything over there?
No.
Having a hard time? Having a hard time hearing it?
I mean, hearing anything.
I have your indigo. What am I holding in my hand?
What is he holding in his hand?
What did you grow out at your plantation?
So Mark, I'm going to ask for that indigo back from you.
You mean Sean?
I'm sorry.
Here.
He's trying.
You're doing better than I would do, man. Oh, here.
In the cart.
Yeah.
Let
Let's
me
see if
because
I can.
I'll piece it back together when I get back to the office.
I have it here somewhere.
Ah, perfect.
It's I think the string's still on
Yep,
it too.
it is.
Okay.
So I'll have to find a way to keep it on there just because that vial is so small. All right. So,
Super glue it, dude.
yeah, that's actually a good point. Let's go ahead and kill those videos and turn off that REM pod so we can get through the actual answers of this location.
You want me to
So
turn
hit
off?
Yep, go ahead and hit the square.
I think I heard Noah, but I'm not 100% sure.
We also have the name Zach that came up on the S11. So, any other names that popped up?
Marvin.
The only thing that's actually on there is Zach. Any other names? So, let's talk about why we're here and what this place actually is. So, and Dan, you can actually get some footage on here if you want, if you just want to point it down one way or the other. If you want to use lasers, great. Again, keep them tight if you can. Because again, this is a considered a quiet area. That's why I asked Cameron to actually view his, because you're waiting up against the hotel. Somebody might actually be inside the rooms. So we don't stay here for very long. When we crossed that last crosswalk, that's where the original Charlestown walls used to be. So you're now inside the original Charlestown. They used to be, called the Walled City. This is one of the very first streets we ever had, which is why I like to bring you down here. People used to live here. I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived down here. And when I say people live down here, I'm not talking like 20, 40 people. I'm talking like 5 to 6 people at a time. So I do get 2 common names that show up every 6 to 7 weeks in this location. Those names happen to be Ben and John. Sound like very common names, but that's 2 out of 5 people that lived here in 1801. Do I have any significant information about what happened here in 1801? I do not. So it's just the fact that it keeps happening every 6 to 7 weeks. I can't figure out the pattern, if it's a moon phase or what the case might be. We're actually entering into that 6th week of the moon, just so you guys know where we're at. Now the reason why I think this is actually happening is because you're standing on Belgian blocks. These are made of granite. So basically, you guys all seem like you're paranormal or somewhat enthusiastic or at least interested. So you've heard the term limestone before. So limestone stirs up activity because it's actually straight from the earth. Now as far as granite, it's also straight from the earth, but they've been here since 1735. Rocks and stones that are straight from the earth like this are said to hang on to the consciousness of memories. It's called the stone tape theory. So basically, it's like hanging on to memories and just replaying them over and over and over again. So it's like I'm watching a movie and I keep capturing the last bit of it with those 2 names of Benjamin and John every 6 to 7 weeks. Every once in a while, a third name, but I didn't freeze up.
Every 4 seconds.
Okay, so we're going to just swap the battery out as I'm talking. So go ahead and bring it over and I'll swap that battery out. So they did do an archaeological dig underneath these bricks, and they did find some of these people's clothing and silverware and tools and things. They classified them as lower class, and it makes complete sense because across the street this way on East Bay is where the other side of the wall would have been, which means those buildings wouldn't have been there. The smell of low tide would be coming through here quite often. The rich of Charleston are not going to put up with that. So if you guys have been down to the battery, you probably notice that the houses are skinny in the front and they go long back. There's a couple of reasons for that. So there's a couple reasons. First off, the skinniness of the house is basically because you were taxed based on how much street side you took. So if your house is skinny, that means less taxes. The second reason is because we have piazzas with front doors on them. It helps the smell of low tide from coming in. It actually hits the door and stops. If you open up your second story window, it allows the cool air from the breeze to come over into your house, and cool air drops and heat rises. It was basically old school air conditioning. So we just left the Pinckney Mansion site where I told you the house was broad against East Main Street.
Taxes were
They didn't
incredible.
care.
Yeah, right.
The Pinckneys, they had money. They're going to pay for it. It was bragging rights at that point. I didn't report that. So again, bragging rights for the pinkies. So they didn't care. Not to mention they're outside the city walls. Is correct. So I like to point that out too. So before people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here, hence the name Lodge Alley. So the interesting thing is I do get terms wrapped around Freemasons here as well. So it'd be Freemasons, Masons, and the word Illuminati loves to show up here. So last year alone, I want to say it was about 5 to 6 instances where I heard the term Illuminati come through on a radio station on the spirit boxes. Who the hell's talking about the Illuminati on the radio, first off? And why am I only hearing it in this space? So take that for what it is. This is, I love bringing you guys here because, you know, the non-locals, you guys need to see some, you know, obviously some old bricks, because that's a lot of things that we're known for. But coming down one of the first streets we ever had kind of gives us the layout of the land for the rest of the spaces we're going to go to. Now, what's going to happen from here is I'm literally taking you along the edge of where tour guides are allowed to take you. So we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood. So once we exit the alley, videos will be cut off and absolutely no lasers. So until we get to the next space. We're going to another alley. I'm sure you guys, the locals, are familiar with Philadelphia Alley. Now, I can't take you all the way through Philadelphia Alley like what we're doing now because I've been booted out of it. The reason why is because you guys joined the annoying group on the tour. So you have blinky lights and noisemakers and all of that, and it is considered residential at the end. Every ghost tour in Charleston goes through there, and remember, they go up to 20 people. It's not fair to either one of our parties for 10 people to try to investigate around 20 to 40 people in a very small space. I still tell the story of the alley outside of it because we still stir up a lot of activity just by basically talking about the doctor that was down there. So once we go through there, I'll kind of like take gist of what's going on with the spirit boxes and see, because there's the one corner we go to where there's like 15 different stories. I kind of let the evidence of what's actually happening in real time tell me what's going on next. If nothing shows up where I'm like, okay, we need to go with this story, then I'll kind of go to my normal go-to stories, and then we're going to deep dive into a female pirate at the Powder Magazine. So we'll do a full-blown investigation there, just like what we did over at the Pinky Mansion site, because that is another intelligent type ghost. So again, it's a familiar place, and we're going to talk about that once we get there. Any other words, names, anything else pop up since we've been here? Nothing at all. All right, so Cameron, you're still going to be on mute until we get to the next alley, if you don't mind, sir. So let's cut through, and remember videos, you want to cut your videos as we exit. It used to be called Dueler's Alley. It has a much deeper history than just Dueler's Alley, and if something pops up around that longer history, I'll let you know based on what you guys were telling me. So we're going to talk about Dueler's Alley because we all tell the story of one specific duel. And remember, you're ghost hunting, so even if you've heard this story before, this is probably going to have a whole different reference of meaning, just because you're listening for certain phrases and keywords wrapped around the story. So let's get into the story. What do you think?
I did hear a shot, and then I think it said righteous, but
okay. Remind me to write that down as we kind of move on to the next space. I love it. So we're going to see what else pops up. Since you're the one who seems to be getting more and more, you're getting used to how to listen to it, which is awesome. So there's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because his fiancée Amanda just inherited a bunch of money, and she has an attorney that's helping her out with all of this cash. The attorney thinks the doctor is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. The doctor moves to Charleston to prove that he's not just after Amanda's money. When he's coming into town, a coachman set him up to be robbed and killed, so it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston. So somebody walking by named Ralph Isaacs actually sees what's going on. I'm going to stop on Ralph just because Ralph's initials are the same as where the doctor came from, Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. R.I. will show up here, or just an R, but we always need that secondary clue so we know who it belongs to. Just wanted to point that out. Now, Ralph says, dude, you don't want to stay here. He's got a gunman inside that's going to try to kill you. So you could stay at my friend's house at 59 Church Street, and you can rent a room. So The doctor takes him up on the offer, and they become friends. The doctor's practice starts to take off the longer he stays in Charleston. He's making his own money. Amanda's moving down soon because he's proving his point. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Now, keep in mind, every haunted city you will ever visit has a designated cliched whistler. Ours just happens to be a doctor, just so you know. But anyway, Ralph and the doctor go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. The hierarchy of Charleston says he gets better seats. They talk about these plays on the way home. One night they go see William III from Shakespeare. The doctor thought the new actress in town was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing, and it gets really ugly when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée back home in Rhode Island. They go their separate ways. Now, with that being said, Ralph is from here. He goes to his friends at the newspaper, puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a jerk move. The doctor sees the ad after a couple of rebuttals back and forth, and he says, let's go down to Dueler's Alley and we're going to settle this, meaning somebody's going to die. They come down, they take their 20 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He does not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight and prove that he's willing to forgive. But Ralph has his one shot, and he puts it in the kneecap. Sorry, Mark. On the doctor. So the doctor doesn't die either. He drops to the ground, and Ralph proved his point. The doctor's friends pick him up and carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. Remember, he's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed it out himself. I invite you to go ahead and walk down there and try to turn on your voice recorders to capture whistles, because that's what they say you can hear down here. I used to take my tours down there. I'm going to tell you why I don't here in a minute. But you can also hear gunshots. I just don't have any proof of it. When I used to take my teams down there, I did have the voice recorder going. I do have a few whistles that I cannot debunk. However, when you go down there, I want you to understand that most of the locals know the story and whistle down the alley. So anybody walking down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side, we all throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night on my way back to my garage because I pass the alley. When my daughter's on the tour with us, we race to the alley to see who's going to throw the whistle first. So just kind of keep in mind, it's not going to be a very blatant, it's not going to be that loud. It's going to be very faint and in the background. So this alley didn't always come all the way through. There was kind of like a blockade at the end of it. It was called Cow Alley at the time. That's where actually all of the livestock was kept for the city of Charlestown. So the bricks at the other side are older. So that means that those bricks on the other side are sun-dried bricks from slave children. So basically they turn those bricks every hour to be able to dry them. They weren't baked. We have a full handprint and fingerprint swipes in those bricks at the end. Now when I used to take my group all the way down, newbie on the tour guide circuit, didn't know that I wasn't allowed to go all the way through. Everybody wants to put a spirit box or an EMF meter near that brick. It is outside of a gentleman's dining room window. It was not a very good night, November 26th of 2020. So, again, the reason I bring up that date specifically is because the next day was Thanksgiving. I did not tour on Thanksgiving. I'm still brand new to the circuit. November 28th, I get a phone call from the tourism office about a complaint of my tours coming down with their blinky lights and all of that stuff. Keep in mind, I'm not going to treat that treat it just like a grave. The kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife. I used to tell people, we need to go. We've got to keep moving. But anyway, that phone call either forced me to go halfway, which is what we're allowed to do, or reroute. I decided to reroute. I'm not a pirates person. I'm a vampire guy. I told my team we're going to wing it and see what happens. Keep in mind, my tickets were much cheaper. They were totally fine with it. So once we get up there, I tell what I know about Anne Bonny, the female pirate, and somebody hears the number 300 on their spirit box. I'm like, I have no idea what that means. And then somebody else hears the name Anne. And then we had all these other little tiny clues. And I'm like, okay, cool. So the number 300 stuck with me. So I look it up the next day. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th, 1720. The exact 300th anniversary of the day we were there. So it was almost like karma telling me I got to get the hell out of the alley and start talking about Anne. Now that last spot that we're going to go to is a hit or miss. Anne is said to be seen all over town. We're taking a roll of the dice to see if we're going to be there at the same time. So we either get a lot of activity or we get absolutely nothing. But the story is crazy enough to hear. There's a lot of shit going on in that story, pardon the French, but it is a crazy whopper. Again, I'm a vampire guy. You don't even want to know how many damn pirate books I've had to read since that day that I caught the number 300. So, the next space we're going to go to, spirit boxes. I definitely want you listening in. Have we gotten anything since I've been standing here talking about the doctor?
I've heard family and hello.
Family, hello. Anything out of yours? I'm going to write down family. Any other? No, you guys don't even have spirit boxes down that end. Wow, they're all shoved down here. That's interesting. All right, so let's go up to the next spot and we'll kind of see what happens. So listen to your spirit boxes intensely, and then let me know what you find once we get there.
And you're shot.
Cameron, Cameron, do you have your spirit box on?
No.
You need to turn it on and be listening, buddy. You're supposed to be listening for me. Okay. Go ahead and listen. You're listening for words. You're doing a good job, dude. Go ahead, get on up there in front of the bus guy. Somebody's into it. Go in the street, buddy, if you need to. Your son is so
Right
into
up
this.
there by him.
Yeah, he's so into this. Sir, can you let me know when to turn my bikes on?
We're just waiting for this group to pass. Again, I try to stay out of all the other tour groups away, just so that we can actually investigate.
That's the luxury, is we're not on a schedule like they are.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to time. I just don't.
It is what it
At
is.
the end of the night, I look at the audio and let you know how much time that you're actually going to get back as far as the data. So, again, I don't pay attention. We're out here to have fun, right?
I agree. How's your EMF there doing?
Nothing since we last talked.
You don't
Not like that.
Leanne.
I heard your brother.
This is the church, and that's the graveyard right there. I think lighting up the
No, look in front of you. There's the large steeple
She's
downtown.
seen all the time.
Really?
Oh yeah. That's the
Look in your left. Look to your left and come right here. And just look in here. This is where you're going to see.
You get a lot of
Caution wet paint.
Yeah, it was very clear.
a lot of religious terms. Normally I would have you guys sit on the bench, but I like to point something out first. So that's the courtyard next to Philadelphia Alley. So that is the wall that we were just staring at from the other side of the street. I like to point out the gateway right in the middle of that wall. It is there for a reason. So remember, the alley didn't go all the way through. So when there was a loser to the duel, that gateway was used as a shortcut to get over to St. Philip Cemetery instead of going all the way down Queen Street.
How
and coming around
convenient.
this way. So I call it the death gates. The doctor never went through it, just so you know. So again, instead of carrying dead weight all the way down, it was a much easier way. So, like I said, I normally would have you guys have a seat here, but we'll make do. We'll figure it out. So every ghost tour in town stops up at this cemetery. So it is their one show and tell. So I give it to them. That's why we stop here. Yep, and I'm still going to show off the picture because the non-locals don't know the story. So, and again, it's still part of your ghost hunting 101 because you may not have seen an actual apparition before. So, there's two different sides to this cemetery. I like to point out a few historical things first. So this side that we are standing on, this is the eastern side. So if you're from Charleston, you can get buried on this side. So Charles Painting is buried over here, Eliza's husband. So if you're not from Charleston, you get buried on the other side. Your 7th Vice President, John Calhoun, is over there. They didn't know where the hell he was supposed to go, so they moved him back and forth. So, he's been here a long time, but he's not actually from here. He's in a sarcophagus. So it's about 8 men. You just pick him up and just shuffle him back and forth. So, yeah.
It's the latest trend.
I know, right? They were actually supposed to put the Calhoun Monument in that cemetery, but they decided to go against it. I don't know if you knew that or not when they took down the monument. I have a lot of friends at Marion Square. That's a whole other story. But anyway, so that's the reason why I like to point this out. But every ghost tour stops up at this side because there's a sign inside the gate that says, "There's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost." Right? So there's a reason for it. In 1888, a young lady died by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. Now, we just talked about initials over there with Ralph Isaacs. Sue Howard Hardy's initials, SHH. So I wouldn't say that cheesy line if I haven't seen it and heard it for myself. She loves to give us her initials, almost shushing us at the same time of telling us that she's here. So again, it's corny and cheesy, but it's been real. But she dies 6 days after her stillborn child. that's the end of her story. In 1987, a local photographer was in town who was taking pictures of all of our beautiful cemeteries, and it captures a full apparition in that particular cemetery over the grave. It's 1987. He doesn't have the technology that we have now. So he sends it to Kodak. I don't think I have to explain what Kodak is. So Kodak can't debunk the picture either. So for guys like me, this picture is gold, and I am going to show it to you. However, the picture is cursed to females. So I don't know if you guys locals that you knew that it was cursed to females.
We may have seen this.
If you're handling it even in a digital format, on like a phone or a tablet, they say you can still get the symptoms like what we talked about at the beginning, the headache, the nausea, the dizziness. Pregnant females handling it probably will not have a good pregnancy based on the gist of the story. I'm not going to be the guy where somebody had a great vacation and 9 months later I cursed your family. So please don't touch the tablet as I kind of go through and show you. And you guys are all huddled around, which is nice instead of sitting down. I might do this in the future. So this is the full photo that he took, obviously, of the cemetery. This is Sue's grave. I'm going to zoom in on the apparition. So you can see her shoulders, the top of her head, and the baby basket next to her. So even when you zoom in further, like on a computer, you can actually see the weaving of the basket. Like, it is pretty damn clear. But again, this is why every ghost tour stops up there. This is their show and tell.
Don't touch it.
It's every night somebody reaches and points, and I'm always like, huh? But yeah, it's like she's praying over her own grave.
Oh, gotcha.
So you're looking at her back.
Backside, okay.
Not her backside.
Well,
I'm
you
gonna
know
get
what
dirty
I
about it. This is another possibility where the baby is probably buried with the mother, just so you all know. I can't prove that. You can't Google mummied baby and not expect a phone call. So again, these aren't things I can prove, but again, it is a likely scenario. Let's get your mindset going on pirates, unless you guys have heard something or seen something on your word list. What do we got going on? Have we heard anything?
The name Peggy popped up.
Peggy. I swear, if I have a Peggy that shows up tomorrow, that word list loves to give me the names of my next night's guests. It happens all the time. So when you guys are listening to your audio, you're going to hear me explain that to Jennifer, because there was a weird instance with last night's tour where a name showed up along with the city of where her husband came from. And it was a weird instance because the husband actually moved, like they met, or he came into town, his flight landed at the same time that this woman's mother passed away.
Is it the word high or hay?
Probably hay. Yes. But again,
Not really relevant here.
but we'll take it. The fact that you're hearing anything on there is a natural wonder, because that's a new one. But it was a weird thing. If you want to go, like, and the funny thing is I don't hide any of your tours. They're separated by month. So if you want to go down and see, like, what happened on previous nights or on your birthday, because your data stays up there for an entire year, I don't hide anything. So you can go back and look at every investigation I've done for the past year. So again, it's all up there. The website is giant. So let's get your mindset on pirates. So I want you guys to kind of look down the street. You see the burning gas lamp over, like, right past that group there? That's the pirate house. So that has a big anchor on the front of it. You can't miss it when you're walking around town. But somebody does live there, and don't go looking for ghosts in his backyard. He also gets mad. Don't ask me how I know. But it is one of those instances where I'm poking around town trying to find more stuff for the tours. But anyway, so that's where Blackbeard's men came off their ships, had a place to stay, met with some ladies, had a few drinks. The cool thing is that they dug a tunnel underneath that pirate house going 1 block away to Dock Street Theater. Dock Street Theater at the time was called Planters Hotel. It was a whorehouse, a playhouse, and a hotel. Obviously, the whorehouse was an attraction. I'll keep it PG, Mom, don't worry.
I never knew that. I never knew that there was a tunnel all the way from here to Knoxville.
Well, actually, the rumor goes that it went all the way to White Point Garden, and it was a sneak in for pirates to come into town. But that's like a 2.5-mile trek. I'm going to call that unlikely. So the reason, but the whorehouse was obviously the attraction. But let's face it, pirates were our first stagehands. There was a playhouse there. Pirates would actually go there to work in between bartering with our locals. So,
If they weren't being hung in the park.
yeah, that's it. So we're going to talk about him next. So again, I find it very interesting that tunnel was there. We just filled it in the 1990s. So like that, it was a legit thing. Rumor had it that Blackbeard actually buried some of his treasure there, but I call BS because we got all that damn treasure in North Carolina, not in South Carolina. So kind of keep that in mind. Obviously, I read a lot of books on pirates. So across the street on the side where the non-Charlestonians are from, we have a sarcophagus close enough to the sidewalk you can actually touch. It is that of William Rhett. Now, William Rhett did a lot of things for South Carolina, but he was a captor of pirate. So he caught gentleman pirate Stede Bonnet. Stede Bonnet was called a gentleman pirate because he bought his way into piracy. He was a joke. He was kind of like the first mate of Blackbeard, and Blackbeard kept him aboard ship because it kept the morale of the ship alive, because they all made fun of Steve Bonnet. He was a joke. So once Steve Bonnet had his own ship, he did get captured by William Rhett. He turned him over to Chief Justice Nicholas Trott. Trott decides he's going to hang all of his men on White Point Garden to warn off other pirates to not come here. Now, when you go down to White Point Garden, there is a lot of speculation that it is haunted. I have a ton of evidence that nothing occurs there at all. I've been there day, night, overnight, you name it. I've run spirit boxes, thermal imaging cameras. I get absolutely no evidence of paranormal activity in that location. It is a great history for pirates here in Charleston, but again, there is no claim that I can find that is said to be true.
Other than the fact that pirates are soulless.
We'll take that one too.
I actually heard the word apparition,
Okay,
and then I heard the word now. Not together, but
separate.
separate places.
And what was the phrase that you heard? Religious
Son of
phrase?
God.
Son of God. We do get a lot of religious terms around this church, and they normally happen as soon as we round up the corner. So apparition you heard. And who's got the recordable one? You do. Apparition, and then you said now? All right.
But not together.
Okay, it's understood, even separated. So we're going to go across the street since we're going to be diving into this female pirate pretty heavily. So you can continue to record, Sean, if you want. I'm totally fine with it. Again, if you want to stop it and restart it, just to make sure we don't lose any of that footage you've already taken. Going to be our highlight. Your device loves to go off in here. So this is a kind of a crazy whopper, but let's get through the history portion of it first. Yeah, you can turn your REM pod back on. Let's see how distracting it'll be. I mean, Cameron's already got his device back on, but this story is a little lengthier than some of the others. So let's get into it. We're going to be working with the powder magazine. That's the little building over there with the crosses on it. For you non-locals, those aren't crosses, those are earthquake bolts. Earthquake bolts, the basic gist of those is that they're turnbuckles. In the event we have another earthquake like we did in 1886, which we haven't, you can turn those turnbuckles and it's supposed to straighten the building back up again. So it's a great idea, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I talked to a lot of Californians and I did the research. So with that, you've probably seen earthquake bolts all over town in the shape of pineapple heads or lion heads or whatever, or just plain squares with a bolt in the middle of it. The apartment building behind the powder magazine does have earthquake bolts going through each floor. So we talked about the Charlestown walls earlier. So that garage is where the wall existed. So when I told you we crossed over into the city, we're still within the original city walls. It went up past the powder magazine and started going south towards the battery. It locks it into the corners of the walls on purpose. If it gets attacked from a Revolutionary warship or a pirate ship from 3 blocks away, that cannonball is going to have a hard time going through the 32-inch thick walls. If it goes through and blows up the gunpowder that's inside, there's sand in the roof underneath those red shingles that's supposed to blow up with the explosion and then fall to put out the gunpowder fire, basically. It's another great idea that doesn't work. So we had another powder magazine closer to the battery. It did get hit, the sand went up in the air and it fell, the building burned to the ground. So there obviously wasn't enough sand in there, but the original sand from the early 1700s, it's still underneath those shingles because sand does not disintegrate. So very interesting building. We're here because its construction took place at the same time of Anne Bonny's arrival to Charlestown. This is what we call a familiar. It's kind of like using a toy to attract a child ghost. It's the same type of principle. So, follow me on this story. It's a whopper. This building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? 10 years, small building?
Sounds about
not at all.
that fast, huh?
No. So, 1703 to 1713 is when it was constructed. So 1708 is where our story begins. A young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormack. Let's circle in a little bit more. I feel like I'm shouting at you guys. And the other tours like they come in. That's why I pull us over to the corner. So 1708, she comes here from Ireland. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Are you guys with me so far?
Wow.
Yeah. The 3 of them are running away from his wife. How pissed was she? Just saying. So, with that being said, they land in the Georgetown area just north of here. Dad buys a plantation, Mom dies pretty quickly. That means he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat. Now, young Anne back home in Ireland was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only 7 to 9 years old with a knife to the belly. Sorry, Devin, you just happen to be next to me. I killed Mark earlier with a gunshot to the knee. Don't feel bad. So, with that said, I want you to keep that mentality of her badassness in the back of your brain through the rest of the story. We're going to fast forward. Building's done in 13, 17, 15. Pirates are coming through town, and Anne is stoked. She falls in love pretty quickly. We're already getting some motion coming out of Mark's device, because it's definitely not coming from him. Just let me know what the highest color that you see is. Now, the guy she falls in love with, his name is James Bonney. Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormac becomes Anne Bonny. Now we have the most famous female pirate of the Golden Age, and her career started right where you're standing. Interesting thing is when you get down there, this is not the swashbuckling, rum-drinking, Captain Jack Sparrow type of pirate that she wanted. This is a privateer. He's a spy for the British. He's a coward in her eyes. So, a few years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2. I'll keep track for you. This guy's name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. We're going to call him Jack throughout the rest of the story, just so there's no confusion. Jack has his own ship. Anne wants to be part of that ship, but you can't have a girl on the crew. Why? Because girls curse pirate ships. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, you can be a female in my quarters and part of the crew. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So now she's a pirate. Let's go. Adults, let's put 2 and 2 together. Being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure it out, that she's a female. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. So she comes back, she's dressed like a girl, and we don't know where the baby is. Now, this makes Jack pretty mad that she's dressed like a female. He just captured another pirate crew, and they're down below deck. She's going to go flirting, because that's what Anne does. Guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, just like it got to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females doing the exact same thing on the same ship. This young lady's name is Mary Reed. Now Mary and Anne become friends, possibly lovers, and now Mary Reed is part of the crew. The British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet of ships to come take down one pirate ship. So, Anne and Mary are the only 2 not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks to try to save the ship. They're obviously going to get taken. Now, as they're being arrested, Anne looks at Jack and she says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." The word dog being a key word here for you spirit box folks. Now, the judge, his name is Nicholas Laws. I told you about Nicholas Trott across the street. This one is Nicholas Laws. I don't know what's with my name and judges, but I'm not judging. So, with that, he wants to see the 2 men that fought back by themselves. He wants to see these courageous young lads. But he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken pirate crew that wouldn't come up and fight. They're dead and gone. Anne and Mary go in front of Laws and reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female. They're still pirates in his eyes. He's still going to hang them. "We plead our bellies," was the last thing they said, claiming to be pregnant. You cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It is illegal. He sends them both back to jail, delays the hanging. Dad is still here in Charleston with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries husband number 2, guy number 4. Yes, we're going to count Mary Reed because we don't know for sure. And she has 4 children and dies at the age of 84. Wow. I know, all of my stories end very abruptly. But what happened to Mary Reed? She dies a year later in 1721 from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. I'm sure it was scurvous and bumpy and gross and whatever else you want to come up with. So, I left out 2 things on purpose. This is kind of like your level 3. You all know how to use your devices. You've been using them all night long. I left out 2 specifics just so you had something to get started with. I left out the name of Anne Bonny's parents. That would be the father and the mistress. And I left out the name of Calico Jack's ship on purpose. So that way you had something to get started. I told you all at the beginning that some people have passed out on my tours. This story is relative to our location. So give me 2 more minutes of our time before we spread out and start investigating. Back in September, I bring my group back here, about the same size, 8 or 9 people. The kid next to me goes white as a ghost. Again, sorry, stabbing, and now you're going white as a ghost. And he starts to drop like a wet noodle. So I pick him up by his armpit and I carry him over to the brick wall over there. His boyfriend follows. I give him a couple dollars to go across the street to the vending machine and get him a bottle of water. I don't carry water with me. So, other than my own. He comes back, the kid's feeling better. I then tell the story. So they don't know the story yet. I send everybody out to go play with their devices and they pull me aside. "Nick, we have to tell you something." I'm like, "What's going on?" "We are 2 transgender males." Meaning I had 2 females dressed as males. Just like Anne and Mary on my tour. As soon as we hit the space, it made sense to them that one of them was feeling faint. So, again, when I say things have happened on my tours, things have happened on my tours. Wow. That was not one of the instances where I had to call paramedics, and they were totally fine with being part of my tour now.
Sounds like people have connections depending on certain people.
Right. And it was almost like it was identifiable. Now, granted, I don't really look at those things. I mean, every once in a while I might say, "What's the relationship between the 2 of you?" or something like that, just so I'm not calling him dad when, to Cameron, so forth and so on. Right. But again, I normally don't pry like that, so that's just when it happened. Yes, sir.
I heard the word Jasper and Howie.
Howie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
don't know.
I don't. Well, you have to remember Sue Howard Hardy.
Howie.
Across the street.
Yeah.
Howie.
Howie. Yeah.
Again, that's why you guys keep me around, Sean. Put all the clues together. So we are going to spread out. Ask whatever you want to. EMF readers, this is not the Pinckney Mansion site. So, Vicky, and yours is more about the REM pod. So you might not get any numbers on the screen. It's all about that REM pod. The closer you get to the bushes, the higher the reading because of the parking meters. Those of you with cameras, if you want to go to the front and put lasers in the front lawn, you can. Just be careful with the lasers. Don't go too high because then you'll be shining at somebody's living room, and wait for the other tourists to pass. It's the only thing I ask. Don't interrupt them. That way you can take your time. So if somebody's there, just kind of wait in line. But otherwise, have fun with this. We're going to end over there by that wall because there's a ledge over there where I can, kind of regroup us. But yeah, let's explore. I'll know based on what you guys were telling me in the first 5 minutes or so if something's actually going on or not. Again, this is a hit or miss. We never know.
Okay.
Let's have some fun.
While you were talking,
Yes.
around, that's my girl. Now,
Hang on. We're going too quick. I know you try to memorize.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do other than film.
She had 5 children. 4 African American and 1 in Cuba.
Start asking
5 children for
questions.
Alzheimer's.
You're supposed to ask questions.
You're the one that heard 7 twice earlier, correct?
Huh.
So here's the interesting thing. So starting with Philip
Walking around.
space, the number 7 must be short.
Ask what was the name of the ship she was on. Come here. What?
I heard the word God in a very demonic voice.
Okay, well then go tell him that. God.
We hear once over in this space, and we get something else along that's political. It's usually because John Company is our 7th vice president. If you get something related to war, it's just number 7 by itself. It's usually right close to the power and
Pagan.
call me Nick, buddy.
Are you reading your spikes? You're awfully warm. He's talking to him. He told me he heard a word. He heard the word God.
well, and I heard that.
Keep
very
listening.
early on before you started.
What was the name of the ship you were on?
What was the name of the ship you were on?
In what year did you pass away?
What was the name of the ship?
Oh, I think I heard Rex.
Where's the ship? That would be because Rex.
I just think I heard Rex.
Okay. Anything crazy going on with your camera? Because
No,
that thing loves to
nothing,
act
man.
up here.
I'm not getting like any really cold spots anywhere.
Well,
I'm
the
looking
good thing is
though,
I
dude.
send that to YouTube, so you guys can watch it however you want to. Like on your phones, on your TV.
Oh, I gotcha.
So is this what you guys were hoping for?
Oh yeah,
That's
I'm
the
having
local?
fun, dude.
I love when locals come on because this is such a new thing.
Yeah, you're very knowledgeable, man. It's
Oh, I
very,
appreciate that.
You've done more research than some of these people that walk around for $8 an hour and telling
Where was
tours.
Peter?
Look in the story.
I really can't do it. Yeah, you gotta move slow.
Yeah, you have to. But that particular camera in here,
This is badass, dude.
yeah. And that's the new upgrade. Like I bought that last year, just so I can get the blue dot because it really helps out.
You're on to something with this whole interactive,
You know, people will try to mimic this but can't come close.
dude. I'm telling you,
I'm the
man.
only one in the country that goes to these lengths. And the fact that I'm working on this for like 4 hours tomorrow morning to put it all together for you so you have more to do, like nobody's doing that.
I just heard the word tap.
What was it?
Tap.
Tap.
Tap. You gotta try to listen clearly, okay? Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, he has been. He's been doing good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been on.
He's been so like He's like the stay-at-home, A-on-world kid that's like the total introvert. So for me to see him out doing this and walking like not instead of walking with Dad, he's up in front walking with you. He's way into it.
He was asking me all kinds of questions. He keeps calling me sir, which is you've raised him right.
Southern respect, dude.
I told him you can call me, Nick. I get it. What's funny is if my daughter was on the tour, my youngest, like she would be hanging out with him.
Yeah.
She's 15,
Oh,
but she kind of helps out the kids on the tour. Like, what are you listening for? Because she knows all the stories.
Yeah.
So she can help out when I have these larger groups like this. And she knows the stories. She knows the equipment. How are we doing with those lasers? Did you guys go up front at all?
We did, and
How's
then
your
they came
EMF?
around, but I think we're gonna go back now that they've passed.
How is your EMF?
They're not liking this group.
Who? Oh.
Yeah, this space is not high for EMF. And you know what's funny about that Pinckney Mansion site and why I know so much about it? Is
I was
because
gonna say this thing was hot over there.
they've never done a dig over there. And the reason I know that is because I did a lot of research because the wife and I, we want to turn this into obviously a staple shop and then have a haunted hotel above it where everybody gets a gear kit. You get an hour with me on training on how to use the equipment. And that was a space we were looking at. Like, how do we build something here to be representative of what Eliza did? And
I've been
never
here
done a
forever.
dig there.
Never heard of anything in that
It's
area.
only going to cost me $20 million to put a building there.
Yeah.
It looks like
Yeah,
amazing.
that's huge pocket change, bro.
Well,
So what was the restaurant that last time we went on the tour? There's a hotel that the ghost shows up next.
That's when they took
Next
us
to the
down the alley and we
It's Pugin's
ran
Porch.
there and all
That's-
Yeah, right across the street in that
that's-
hotel.
yeah.
There's
there's
a
some
ghost
kind of-
story.
Yeah, there's a story in one of those houses.
All these
so many
hotels have
stories
something.
around
I know.
here.
And with the with the podcast, the wife and I, like, we're going to be doing a round robin at some of these hotels to kind of prove or debunk what's going on.
Right.
You know, I also have a co-host for the podcast.
Yes, it is.
She wants to come along too, just because she
No
wants to
touchy.
keep learning more. And,
touched it.
You know, all of the
This is
different
the place
devices.
to be when it comes
Yeah.
to that. That's why his sister wanted to come here.
Well,
because
I
she knew-
actually interviewed for the TAPS team. If you're familiar with the TV shows, like
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Hunters,
Yes.
like they have different subdivisions, and they called me up like as soon as they seen this tour and were on my website. Like they called me and they're like, "We just don't know if your schedule is going to be because you work 7 nights a week."
Conducive,
They
yeah.
seem to want to do that. That haunted jailhouse seems to be the favorite.
Oh, they don't do it anymore. So just guess how busy I am.
Really?
They're renovating the place.
Oh
Because she
my
wants to get it off her
gosh.
chest.
William, 707 and 87.
You've been pretty awesome tonight.
She's on point,
She's like,
huh?
she's our
She's on
haunted
point.
one. She's the one that's getting on.
Love it. You got any more emotion coming out of yours? What was the highest color you seen? Was it blue, purple, blue?
It's starting to freeze up
It's
again.
back there for a minute.
Okay. Ladies, what do you have over there? Okay.
That's fair question.
I said, I want to see her, I want to be with him.
Oh, wow.
Even though she was with Jack most of that story I just told, she was still married to James. Jack tried to buy the dowry from James, and Bonnie refused. So she was still married. Jack was just a beau at that point. So she didn't remarry again until after her pirate prayer. Combination of the two ladies and Bonnie.
Oh, that's right. How did you not put that together?
That's why I'm here. That's why you guys keep me around.
Ooh, there's a cold spot.
See how those stars are when I'm watching the video. Because before I had like just spray shots.
Yeah, they look a lot better than the red thread, I'll tell you that. It's easier to see.
Something just came through here. It's probably just above.
I can see if I stay through it all
Yeah,
night.
it's weird. It might be just kickback from the way the light is shaped. But I'm seeing like little sparkles from time to time, like midair. So
It's bugs.
yeah,
You see
it's
like,
more than likely.
yeah, on the camera you can see the white wings.
Yep. All right. I say we kind of regroup and see what we got going on. She's giving me quite a bit, Miss Leanne back there. Come on in. We got some answers. Yes. But normally at the Pinckney Mansion site, it'll come up there probably about once a month. And it'll usually come up as a hello Nicholas or a hello. And the powder for the Trot did a lot of his business, but my name will show up in there a lot as well. So it's kind of, you have to find a secondary clue to see how it's related.
Right.
But yeah, good question. The interesting thing is that he heard the name Lane as well.
Yeah.
And I look at that as a name. Why? Because that's my mother's maiden name.
Oh.
So again, the
So
word Lane. In
would
fact,
that be related to you then?
it's a possibility.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is that was a changed name. Like, I'm Ukrainian. So when my ancestors came over here, our last name was Yusanovich. So it sounds like you son of a bitch. So they changed it to Lane. So it's a nice something simple in American.
Nick, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's why we changed it. So when I see Lane, I
he's
think
saying
so,
Ukrainian.
my
That's what I
family
told you
ancestors were
in
that way. And in
my
fact,
history.
my name. Cool.
Something started to
Got it.
peak
All
right
right,
in
so
here.
let's kind
It
of
quit though.
Oh, wait.
4-3.
Yeah, I'm going to eliminate that. That's our area code.
Hold on, I'll remember in a minute.
Okay.
Oh, DJ.
Yeah, I got nothing on that. You gave me other cool stuff. So let's kind of, let me show you what we got. So first off, I'm going to point out that we have the number 7 that showed up several times tonight. And the fact that you just gave me 707 and 87, let me explain what that is. We hear the number 7 in this particular area from Philadelphia over here quite a bit. Let me tell you why. So if we hear it twice, yes sir.
I heard the word weary.
We got to slow you down.
Yeah. Take it down a notch unless you...
Random words.
Yeah.
So the
now
number
we're-
7, and when she hears it twice, it's normally relatable to the doctor that we spoke of earlier. Why? Because his birthday is July 7th, 7/7. So the other reason why we'll hear the number 7 is because John Calhoun, your 7th vice president, is buried across that wall. The Powder magazine has served in 7 different wars. So again, we get the number 7 here a lot, depending on based on the amount of time we heard it, and the fact that she heard 707 twice in one instance. If we have another dockery type term when I'm going through the recording, then I'll be excited about that to be able to verify what was actually happening. Cameron actually heard my name as well, so again, it showed up. Again, we talk about Nicholas Trot, and the Nicholas Trot House is allegedly on the other side of the Powder magazine. So the Nicholas Trot House is kind of misnomer of Charleston, so if you're a local, this might be something you didn't know. Nicholas Trot actually lived in where the Dock Street Theater now sits. This was just a place he rented while he was waiting for it to be renovated for his, Chief Justice-ness. So because the Dock Street Theater has so much of its own history, they had to kind of name it something else because Trot was our first Chief Justice in the United States. So, and he was right here in Charleston. So they had to put him somewhere, which is why it's at that little state house that you see, but it does go all the way back. So it looks small, little cottage right from the front, and you go to the other side of the Powder magazine, but it does go all the way back. It's pretty big. But again, he lived in where the Dock Street Theater is now. If you go visit the Dock Street Theater, there's an elevator in the back by the courtyard. That's where Nicholas Trot's privy was. So basically, you're riding in his shitter. So just a little fun fact for you. So very interesting.
But cold.
Cold. I was gonna say we're all cold, but it's not.
That's
It's
a
not.
nice item to take.
So, and the fact that you heard Annie Reed. So again, one version of one name and the last name of another. So we had Anne Bonny and Mary Reed. So and the fact that you two didn't put that together makes it even better because you weren't looking for it,
Right.
which is awesome. Let's see. And then I want to be with him was a good phrase. So again, I'm going to be looking at all. Oh, William. William is the name of Mary's or Anne's father, William Cormack, and the mother's name was Mary Brennan. So the fact that there's a secondary Mary, you guys weren't expecting me to throw that one in at you. So what I do like to do, at least from here, is to show you what Anne looked like and what Calico Jack looked like. So Anne Bonny, there's very few pictures you can find of her with a shirt on. The reason for that is because she was, which you hear now.
I heard the word moly.
What was it?
Moly.
Moly?